I lost 5.5 kilos doing the 75 hard. After finishing the challenge, it was the best that I'd ever felt, bar being 18 years old with no fat on me. And it just shows that if you do commit to this challenge, you can see excellent results. Now the 75 hard is meant to be hard, it's in the name. But if I could go back and do it again, there are some things that I would tweak to make it simpler for myself. I'm Jen from The Daily Move, which is a wellbeing channel here on YouTube. So if wellbeing is something you're interested in, stay and subscribe, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of the content that I put on this channel. So you probably clicked on this video because you're either thinking about doing the 75 hard, or maybe you've started and you're finding it, more difficult than you previously thought. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the kind of mistakes that I made, and hopefully these will help you kind of simplify your 75 hard journey. So first of all, for the people who aren't quite clear on what the 75 hard is, it's a challenge created by Andy Frisella, who is the CEO of First Form, which is a supplement brand. Personally, I've never used it. I heard of the 75 hard before I'd actually heard of Andy. And the challenge is called the 75 hard because it's 75 days long. And it's hard. It's not an easy challenge. So 75 days is 2.5 months. Now, if you think about that in the scope of your year, 2.5 months can pass by like that. But when you're actually doing something that is really challenging and you've got to stay consistent with it, 2.5 months is actually a really long time. So committing to something like this is a really great way to challenge yourself. And why do we like challenging ourselves? Well, it creates stress, which, we don't want too much stress in our lives, but a little bit of stress every day actually helps us progress towards something that we want, a goal, a better body, a better mindset. This challenge has an emphasis on being strict with yourself. It is about consistency, and not only that, but also perfection. Now, perfection is something that's really, really difficult to achieve. And to be honest, whoever actually achieves perfection, the point of this challenge is that you want to strive towards it. Because if you get 95% of the way to perfection, you might actually think, yeah, this is great for me. And because of the strictness of this challenge, it is not for everyone. I'm not going to go into exactly who it's not for, but generally it's not for people who can't commit time to it. So if you've got a really, really busy job, a hectic family or social life, and you know that you're not going to be able to commit time to this, then it's just not for you. And there are other challenges out there. It's also not for the people who know that they're going to cheat themselves. So if you're the kind of person who takes on this challenge and you don't want to be completely consistent, and you maybe do 7 days of it and then you think, oh, I'll have a day off, this challenge isn't for you. You have to be consistent for 75 whole days. Now, there's something called the 75 soft, which I'm not going to really talk about in this video. There are loads of other videos about that, and it's not the challenge that I took on. But if you feel like you're one of the people who will not be able to take on this challenge, maybe have a look at that and see whether that's right for you. So very briefly, I'm going to talk about how this challenge worked for me, and these are my before and after photos. I lost 5.5 kilos, which if you work in stones and pounds, it's 12 pounds. I actually didn't have a fitness goal in mind for this challenge. I just knew that I wanted to tone up and get a bit leaner. So this is the outcome that came from that commitment. So let's talk about the rules of the 75 hard. So there are 6 elements, if I'm remembering right from memory. So the first is diet, and you can choose any diet, but you have to stick to it for 75 days. There are no cheat days and no drinking alcohol. So the diet I chose was calorie counting. I had a number of calories and macros that I had to meet, and I couldn't go over them, and I didn't want to go too far under them. The second element is exercise. You have to do 2 45-minute workouts, and one of them has to be outside, regardless of weather. Now, your water intake. You have to drink a gallon of water every day. There's also a reading element. So you have to read 10 pages of a non-fiction self-help book per day. It cannot be a fiction book, like a novel or anything like that. It has to be self-help non-fiction. You have to take a progress photo of yourself every day so that you can see how you've progressed throughout this journey. And the last factor is no skipping days. If you miss any of these daily tasks or you skip a day, you have to start right back at day one. So as I said, this is not an easy challenge. It's not for everyone. But if you're the kind of person who can really commit to something, who wants to see a change in yourself, your physical body, your mindset, then hopefully this will be the right challenge for you. Now I'm going to go through the mistakes that I made during this challenge, which will hopefully help you make your challenge a bit simpler. So mistake number one was thinking of this as a fitness challenge. It is actually a resilience and mental toughness challenge with fitness elements. You know, you've got your eating, your dieting, but you've also got reading. And then there's the consistency element with, you know, taking your progress photos, but also generally keeping consistent with all of the daily tasks. So while you might be doing fitness elements, like I was walking every day, doing yoga, running, weightlifting, doing different sports as well, you are training your body and you are getting either, you know, stronger or leaner or both. But you're really training your mind and yourself to be consistent. One of my favourite kind of mottos in life is nothing worth having ever came easy. And consistency is often the key to most successes in life. And I think this challenge is a really good way of demonstrating that. So by seeing this as a challenge for consistency rather than just a fitness challenge, which, you know, you can do at any time, hopefully this will help you kind of realign your priorities and how you see the challenge and help you gain a little bit more focus. Now my second mistake was beginning this challenge at the start of the year. So I started it on the 1st of January. Now there are pros and cons to this. You know, 1st of January, it's after Christmas, after New Year's, nobody wants to spend any money, no one wants to go out to like restaurants and bars, everyone's either doing like dry January, veganuary, or just generally staying in and not really socialising. You've also got a lot of people who are on diets themselves, so you're kind of surrounding yourself with people who have a similar goal to you. But the downside of starting this challenge in the new year is that, as I said earlier, one of the 45-minute periods of exercise has to be outside. And January, in England anyway, is the coldest part of the year. So it's not easy to get outside. It might be snowing, it might be icy. It's definitely cold. A lot of the time when I was doing it, it was rainy and windy, dull, and just not the most motivating environment to be able to carry out a challenge like this. The other thing as well is it's dark, and I did a lot of my workouts in the morning, so I would do one in the morning and then one in the kind of afternoon, evening, just so I'm not working out back to back for 45 minutes and then another 45 minutes. But getting up early in the morning in winter in the UK is hard. You've really got to pull all of the motivation out of you and all of the strength to get up in the morning. If you're not a morning person, like, I mean, I love mornings, but early dark mornings are just not the one for me. Also, if you've got a partner, you know, and you're getting up early and maybe they're still in bed, then you've got that extra layer of worrying about disturbing them. So there are all these other elements to consider. If I was doing it again, I'd probably do it in the spring, just before summer, so I could get that, you know, summer body and feel really good and positive about myself throughout the summer. It's slightly warmer. I mean, it's like 11 degrees and it's May at the moment, but it is much lighter in the mornings and evenings. So you have that kind of extra bit of time when you're doing your outside workouts to feel a bit lighter and a bit more positive. So mistake number 3 was not personalising my water intake. Now this is really kind of the only part of the challenge that is kind of negotiable. I want to talk about the fact that you have to drink a gallon of water, and there is a difference between a US gallon and a UK gallon. So remember, this is made by Annie Rosella, who is an American. So he will be using the American gallon, which is 3.78 litres, whereas a UK gallon is just over 4.5 litres. So make sure that you're not getting those mixed up, because you'll be taking in far much water than you actually need, and far more than what is really healthy, unless you're used to consuming that amount of water anyway. Now, the other thing to consider is your own body weight. So for example, as a 5'3" woman, drinking a gallon of water a day was very difficult for me to achieve. I think I did it for maybe the first 5 days. I found that I was going to the toilet probably about 6 or 7 times throughout my workday. And I also found that I was getting headaches from the amount of water that I was drinking. So I took my water intake down to 2.5 litres, which really was perfect for me. If you're really unsure about how much water you should be intaking, have a chat with your doctor, but definitely taking the blanket water requirement as gospel is not the healthiest for everyone, so just consider that when you're doing a challenge. Mistake number 4 was not anticipating muscle loss. So before I started the challenge, I was weightlifting maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I had built up a really good foundation of muscle that I was very pleased with. But while I was meeting certain macros, the calorie counting based diet that I was on meant that I lost muscle mass overall. Because of this, I did lose a little bit of shape, and also lifting weights felt a little bit more difficult because I had less energy. So if retaining muscle is a priority for you, I would choose a diet that matches your goals, making sure that you're getting enough calories to sustain your muscle and enough protein. Now, mistake number 5 is the one that I regret the most, and that is finishing at 75 days. Unfortunately, I stopped my diet at 75 days and I completely fell off the wagon. I went into the end of it thinking, I'm just going to have one big cheat meal, I'm going to get it out of my system, and then I'm going to go back to following a good diet. That never happened. I had the cheat meal, and then it's like I got the taste for the foods that I love but shouldn't be eating. And I'd say this is all because I didn't have a good relationship with food in the first place. So I would say that if you don't have a good relationship with food, don't treat yourself with food as a reward. On top of that, I then lost the motivation to work out, and I did gain it back. I actually joined a run club and I started really getting into weightlifting again and trying out lots of different sports. But it did take a long while to get to that position again. Now, if you really need structure after you've finished the 75 hard, because this is a daily consistency challenge, there is a lot of structure to it, there are daily tasks that you have to do. If you need that kind of rigidity after you've finished, there is the Live Hard challenge, which I think is a year-long challenge, and you can find out more details about this on Andy Frizella's website. I didn't do that challenge because I didn't know about it by the time I had finished the 75 hard. I'm unsure whether I would have approached that challenge myself, but I wish I had stuck to the consistency that I had exhibited during the 75 hard. Now, would I do the 75 hard again? Probably yes, at some point. If I really, really wanted to challenge myself again, then I think it is a great mental toughness challenge. I experienced great results out of it, so I would recommend it if you are the type of person who feels that they can approach this challenge successfully, with the time to be able to do it, and with the commitment required for the challenge. So if you are doing the 75 hard, I wish you the best of luck in your journey. If you have any questions about my journey, or I guess the 75 hard in general, I can try and help you out in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.